You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. You 2.0, Part 3. My next point in this series is that there are two versions of you. There is the you God made you to be, and there is the you that currently exists. So the question I have is, how many of you would say there is a gap between the you God made you to be and the you that currently exists? Pretty much all of us would say that. And the problem is we think we have to close the gap. This is interesting. So many people think that they can close the gap if they just try harder. So many beat themselves up because they think the problem is that they're not being heroic enough or brave enough or strong enough in their spiritual effort. This is something I've seen all the time over the years. If I just read another book, go to another conference, listen to another talk, I'll learn some new disciplines. I'll serve more. I'll work harder. I'll try to be nicer to people in my life. And you might hear about someone who gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning to pray, or early, and they pray every day, or they're very consistent, and you feel guilty because you think you don't pray enough and you resolve to do that too. And perhaps even though you're not a morning person, even though at 4 o'clock in the morning you're dazed and confused and grumpy and groggy, nobody wants to be around you at 4 in the morning, of course. Even Jesus doesn't want to be around you at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, you think this is hard and exhausting and miserable, and I don't like doing this, so it must be God's will for my life. It must be spiritual. It must be good for me. And do these hard things to improve yourself. Perhaps it's like a New Year's resolution or something. You do it for a few days or weeks, or maybe a month, but not forever. And eventually you stop, and then you feel guilty because you stopped. And then when the guilt gets high enough, you start doing something else, and the cycle returns. I've seen so many people over and over with guilt. They start to do something that doesn't work. They get tired, they stop doing it, and this guilt builds back up. But underneath this, you're really getting weary and tired. And I don't mean just physically, I mean tired in your soul. Or you think, I just have to pretend or fake it and make everybody think that I'm living that kind of life. Or I'm just going to secretly give up and just hope that God isn't too disappointed with me, even though I feel as though I've failed him. So here's the question. What if Jesus really was right? What if he meant what he said about there being rivers of living water available, and that they could flow out of your belly, the deep part of you, yours? What if such a life was possible for you, and you don't have to get there by trying harder or trying to rev yourself up into more commitment? But the first thing that I would say in this is that God is at work in us. He hasn't left us or abandoned us. So it's not like we are his project, as we said earlier, but then he loses interest and goes on to something else. Many of us can be like that, making something and then yawning, looking for the next thrill. But let's look at the verses that we've read before. Philippians 1:6, there has never been the slightest doubt in my mind that the God who started this great work in you would keep at it and bring it to a flourishing finish on the very day Christ Jesus appears. Paul said to the Corinthians, we're free of that old constricting life and legislation. And in chapter 3 of 2 Corinthians 18, he says, all of us are free. Nothing between us and God. Our face is shining with the brightness of his face. And so we are transfigured, much like the Messiah, our lives gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful as God enters our lives and we become like Him. We're going to talk more about this in the next episode, so keep listening. There is hope. There is a God who will not give up on you. God bless you.